Yeah, we'll be good. It'll be fun.
Trucks, Xfinity, and the Cup Series all head to Charlotte this weekend. We get you ready from a betting perspective next on the NASCAR Betting Preview Show. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the NASCAR Betting Preview Show. I hope you can hear me over these birds right now. We are having a time at it, but we're going to be all right. So, my name's Derek Yoder. Follow me at Derek Yoder _ on X. Follow the show at NASCAR BPS on X. The podcast as well at NASCAR Betting Preview Show, wherever you get your podcasts. So, probably wondering, well, Derek, why are you outside? It's a beautiful day, as it is. I am locked out of my house right now, so I am not able to get inside. Couldn't find a window that was open, so luckily we keep everything secure. So everybody watching, thank you for tuning in, and we're just going to see where the show goes. So obviously I can't really do too much with the layout right now, but let's welcome on everybody, the panel. If you're new, Phil, the Full Tank with Phil podcast. Welcome, Phil. How are you doing? Hopefully better than me right now.
Man, I got to be doing much better than you, Derek. I appreciate you're an absolute hero here, hosting the show on a field trip. So I think we all appreciate that. But yeah, man, I'm having a much better day. We put the podcast out last night, getting ready for the greatest day in motorsports. Memorial Day. I got my Memorial Day uniform, Mike Madonna jersey tee, ready to roll. We had Guys from Speedway Steve 2 on to break down all three races last night. So that pod's out. I was on with Tino for the Front Stretch podcast earlier. And so really great conversation with him. Excited for that to come out and excited to talk with you guys, man. This is going to be a great show. I love the Coke 600, as we all do.
It's one of the best weekends of racing of all sports, so I'm looking forward to it. I will be in attendance. I leave tomorrow morning at 6:30 in the morning, just to add on to everything else right now. So if you're going to be in Charlotte this weekend, Thursday through Sunday, let me know. Hit me up. Love to say hello. I know there's so many people traveling down, going to be at that event. It's going to be amazing. Next, I want to reach out and connect here with Mark, a.k.a. Skybox NASCAR. Mark, how are you doing? You got a little time off. How you feeling?
I'm feeling probably better than you are. I hope your phone's charged over there. I know that if I was locked out of my house, my phone, good chance, not charged. Feeling good. Yeah, we're boot scooting out of here about, I don't know, 2:00 tomorrow afternoon, heading to old Bahamas, going to meet up with some Bahama mamas, drink some rum runners on the beach. I couldn't think of a better way to celebrate our fallen heroes and soldiers than to be sitting on an island drinking pina coladas. I mean, what can I say? So, yeah, it's Coke 600. Maybe we'll find a TV. Maybe we won't. Maybe we'll demand for a TV at the bar. We'll see how it goes. And I'm fired up. I made my Larson parlay. We're going to talk about in a little bit. I have an all-time bet for the Coke 600. It is one of my favorite bets of the season. It might be one of my favorite bets of all time. And it's plus money. And I'm fired up. I'm excited. It's like both of you have said, it's the best weekend of the year. It's incredible. Mother Nature can fuck right off. She can just, I have no nice words to say about her. Don't look. Coke 600 might be okay. Indy 5, we're going to need a little help. I might need to fly up to Indianapolis on the charter. Might need to take it, straight to the Bahamas. We'll see. So fired up, ready to talk some bets. Let's rock.
Okay, I like it. Next, Ryan Stevens, a.k.a. Win the Race. Ryan, how are you feeling, man?
Feeling great, man. I'm glad we're back to a real race. Like you said, one of the best racing weekends of the year. It's just going to be awesome. And like Mark said too, fuck Mother Nature. I hope she stays away. Just let us get the ultimate 1,100 miles in on Sunday, and everyone will be happy. So can't wait. I hope the weather stays away and we all have fun this weekend. And hopefully we give out some winners tonight.
I think we'll be able to do that. It is going to be like you said. I mean, it's one of the best racing weekends. Whatever form of motorsport you watch, it is the premier week of the entire calendar year. So really looking forward to it. So let's do this. Let's move into rapid fire. I'm figuring this out, boys. I got it now, kind of figured out on my phone. Let's not jinx it. But these questions are going to be so at random. So Phil, I'm going to start with you first. Better finish on Sunday. Ricky Stenhosue Jr. or Kyle Busch?
Oh, that sucks because I wanted to talk about both those guys. I'm going to go Kyle Busch.
Okay.
I think that's more of an easier answer, but I think there is money to be made potentially or bets to be placed on both those guys. So maybe that's a preview.
I like that. Okay, so you're going to go with Busch. You feel like, as he said, we both suck. I don't care. You feel like he sucks less. So I like that. Mark, I'm gonna throw one over to you. And we saw the race on Sunday, the All-Star race. Should Wilkesboro have a points-paying race?
Wilkesboro needs a lot more stands, and maybe cover up a couple more moonshine caves before we do that. I'm gonna say the ultimate answer is yes. I don't know when. I think there's too much momentum. Obviously, we're going back there next year for the All-Star race.
We are.
The answer is yes. We're going to have a points race at Wilkesboro. It might not be in the next couple of years, but I didn't think the race was as boring as a lot of people did. So, I'm on that side. I thought, multiple grooves, top lane. I think that the repave was a success. So, yes, points race before 2030. Give them a couple of years.
Okay, give you a couple years there. I will say this. I got my Wilkesboro experience last week. Insane. Mark, I know you were there the year before. Just driving up and through all the hills, and you got the farms and everything, and then there's a racetrack that is just so old school. And like where I parked right behind the track at this lady's trailer, and it was just like surreal. Like I could not believe that this was actually happening. So Ryan, my question over to you now. With the All-Star race, Joey Logano, who did the tire test, he ran 800 laps. Were you amazed when you heard that statistic? And how did we not hear that?
Yeah, I mean, it just seems a little wild. When we were talking about Chris Bell at Phoenix earlier in the year, we knew that he tested that tire for like over 400 laps or miles or whatever he did. Well, I guess it's a mile track, so that would be the same thing. But yeah, and he just blew everyone away there too. So yeah, I think there's probably a little something to this tire testing.
There is. I'm shocked that never got leaked. So whoever was in charge of keeping that hush-hush, they did a pretty damn good job. Phil, next question to you. And again, I said these are going to be flying right from the hip. When we look at the Truck Series race, who's a name that we should be keeping an eye on? Obviously, the trucks have been racing each of the last few weeks. Who's somebody that we should be keeping an eye on?
Yeah, I haven't given the trucks any attention yet. But I feel like, and I don't even know what the entry list is this week yet. I don't know if anybody's dropping down. But I think, my mentality is when we go to the mile and a half, a guy like Nick Sanchez from last year was always sneaky, unloads fast off the truck. So somebody like that, if you're looking to play like a top five or a matchup, Sanchez is someone who has been consistent this year, and mile and a half seemed to speak to that team, because Eckes or Heim are going to win the race. So you're just figuring out who to take in the placement bet.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the truck race on Friday night, which I love. I love that the trucks are Friday night, Xfinity Saturday. We got practice for the Cup Series right after that, and then the Cup race Sunday. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Go ahead.
Real quick. Just kind of coming to me now.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened in Xfinity, but the winner of the truck race last year at Charlotte was a wonky winner, went on to win the championship. Winner of the Cup race last year, bit of a surprise winner on a Monday, not really having that great of a year, I guess, went on to win the championship. So Charlotte won, I believe. Tone Center, let's keep our eyes peeled.
If my memory serves me correct, and Mark, you can fact check me, I believe Allgaier won the race last year at Charlotte, but you can check that after I ask you. this riveting question. Better finish on Sunday. Are we going to see Byron, who a lot of people are kind of talking about, Byron or Ross Chastain, the Watermelon Man?
Well, it's going to be Byron. Ross Chastain, if you look at comp tracks, which we're going to discuss in a second, he's pretty good. Except Charlotte. Same thing happened last year. Every comp track you look at, Ross Chastain was top 5 to 7. Zach's got him 10th in the power rankings. Him and Suarez both, they were like 20th place cars, maybe at Charlotte last year. So Hendrick, Byron, they're going to show up every single week. They're going to be a top 5 car. It doesn't matter what track we go to. And you just don't know what Ross Chastain is going to bring and Trackhouse is going to bring. And last year, Charlotte was dog shit. So I'm all over Byron in that matchup.
You're all over Byron. That makes sense. Ryan, question for you. When you've been looking at, hey, there's different things in your models. I know you guys were doing a lot of work over these last week and a half of maybe just fine tuning some things. What's the biggest thing you found just in that remodeling process? Was there a driver that stood out to you, especially at a track like this where we're going?
You mean like just like who I would maybe not expect to like rank out so high or something?
Correct.
Ty Gibbs. Ty Gibbs, I think, he's been great in this package, but he's one that I thought like his not running well at Charlotte. I mean, he was okay. He ran like 80% of his laps inside the top 15, didn't finish well. I thought he might be further down my list, but even bumping him for that, he's pretty high up there. So I've been like against Ty to win this year, and I probably don't think he's going to win this week, but I'll be talking about him a lot tonight.
Wow, that'll be interesting. I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say with him there. How about you, Phil? Like, as we look at Ford, they've won now. Obviously, they won at Darlington. They won here this past weekend with Joey Logano at the All-Star break. Is Ford now having this resurgence that everybody should be keeping a close eye on? And is there some betting opportunities maybe on a Ford driver that we might be able to, kind of take in prior to Sunday?
No.
That's
if
fine.
This is rapid fire, I'm not interested in Ford this week. I think the Ford camp, I think it's a little bit of smoke and mirrors with Logano from last week. Obviously, Darlington was great. The RFK guys did what I think a lot of folks were hoping they would do. They would show up. But I'm not sure that momentum continues. I think, I don't think there's much momentum coming from the All-Star race at all, if you're Logano. And, RFK kind of had a bucket of cold water thrown on him with this, last week, kind of a weird week. So I'm not really, there's one driver that I have that I did bet on for a top 10, and maybe we could talk about him later. But for the camp itself, I find myself kind of going up against them in some head-to-heads. And so I'm not really interested right now.
Okay, so you're not interested necessarily right now with that. Mark, question for you. Who has more pressure on them right now going into Sunday? Is it Bubba Wallace, or is it somebody like Daniel Suarez that, although he won, there's a lot of conversations about him behind the scenes?
Well, I don't think that – I think Trackhouse knows that they have not given Daniel Suarez the capable cars that Ross has had, and that even we saw last year in the 99. I think everyone knows that, even in the Trackhouse bunch. I don't think he's got, pressure. I think he's very marketable. That you got the whole Mexico thing going on. That's unique. I don't think he's in hot water. Bubba Wallace, on the other hand, has had some hot rods, and he has wrecked a few times. I wouldn't dare say either of these guys are on the hot seat. But I think there's a little bit more pressure on Bubba Wallace. There's a lot more eyes on him. He's had really fast cars this year. Last year, Reddick has had really fast cars. I think the pressure's on Bubba Wallace. And this 1.5 mile program that 2311 has, that they have been gifted by JGR, they're going to be fast. I think they're going to be fast this week. I'm going to talk about one of their drivers coming up, but I think the pressure's on Bubba Wallace. Daniel Suarez, he's in the playoffs. He's not going to do anything with it. I don't think they have the capabilities to. I don't think they have the speed that they once had at Trackhouse, or maybe they've got the same speed and everybody else is just light years ahead of them. So I think everyone knows that Suarez is just
Yeah. Well, it's interesting with that because I know Bubba puts a lot of pressure on himself, and it's like, man, I know he needs to win, and obviously Reddick's got to win, almost got another win last or 2 weeks ago at Darlington. But Ryan, who's a name, just in general, like that you felt like coming in, you were going to be a lot higher on than maybe what the public is?
Man, I don't know if I really have one in mind.
Okay.
Maybe Chase Elliott. But I
Yeah.
mean, he's like the public's guy, so I don't know if that's really the right
True.
answer for that question. Maybe just like more in our community. I think I have Chase Elliott. I know, like on my win the race team, I have Chase Elliott ranked the highest of anyone in there. So I'll just keep it within the NASCAR community. I think I'm higher on
Okay.
Chase Elliott than other people.
Okay, so you're higher on Chase. And Phil, I'm going to end it with this, and then we're going to get to ride or fade, and then I'm going to try to see. I think my house is open, so I'm going to let you guys talk for a minute. So Monday morning headline will read what, Phil?
Kyle Larson completes the best double in history.
Wow.
Leaving it open for interpretation.
Okay.
But yeah, I think he's setting himself up for success on both races.
I think you might be. I mean, the dude's fast, right? Like the dude's just been so fast. It's been fun to watch. Just incredible to see how they're able to do everything. But that will conclude the rapid fire segment. Now, as we transition into ride or fade, I'm really curious to hear what these guys have to say. And if you're new to the segment here, it's just what head to head have the guys found that they're really feel like they have an edge on, and are the guys going to ride that or fade that? And Phil, I'm going to just kick it right back to you. And what have you found from the head-to-head market?
Yeah, I'll take it over as Derek's going to probably get into his house here. I like Chase Elliott over Brad Keselowski. So I know Ryan just mentioned Chase, and I was saying I'm kind of not buying the Ford stock, I guess, but both at Charlotte, they both have a win here in the last 6 races, which is where I'm going back since they started coming here once a year, twice because of the COVID year. But Chase in that time frame has the most top fives, tied for the most top fives with 4 of them. 4 out of 6 races at Charlotte, top 5 finishes. Brad only has 3 top 15s to his name in that time span. Chase is just head and shoulders above him. He's 6th in average finish in that time span. We have Keselowski, who's like way further down the list. So first in drive rating in that time span for Chase Elliott. Brad's not even in the top 10. So then you look at this year, and Chase Elliott is first in average finish on the 3 comp tracks: Vegas, Texas, and Kansas. Best average finish 5.3. Keselowski's 5th. He's been doing well, but the thing about this that I like, and we could get into some other stats, like this year head to head, Chase is 3-0 against him on these mile and a halves. That gets my attention. Green flag speed 6th to 15th in Chase's favor. That's something that I'm interested in. But more so than that, right? I think the resume leans Chase. When I took this, it was minus 120 for Elliott. I think that the Coke 600 sets up well for Chase because he's not someone that needs to qualify perfect to have a good race. They have shown the ability to kind of improve during the race. And when you have a longer race, that speaks to that team's strengths. So the driver with the track, team improving, staying out of trouble. I like Chase over Keselowski this week. I don't know what you guys think. You guys riding with me or are you fading me?
I am going to ride with you. I'm a Brad Keselowski truther, but the numbers speak otherwise. The numbers that I'm looking at are speaking towards Chase Elliott here. Going off of Zach's LD speed, just at the 2 Charlotte races, Chase Elliott is leaps and bounds better than Brad Keselowski. Let's see, Chase Elliott 8th, Brad Keselowski 22nd. If you bring in all the comp tracks we're looking at, Chase Elliott actually has a number 1 NLD. He's number 1 in the Cup Series in NLD speed on the comps, and I'll talk about which ones we have that we're looking at this week. Brad Keselowski's 13th. So by the numbers, I'm all over Chase Elliott here. Minus 120 is a good number, and also I think you're onto something with this whole Chase Elliott, Alan Gustafson. Longer the race, better chances they are to be there in the end. So yeah, I like Chase. Now, the flip side is RFK has been fast, gentlemen. They have been boot scooting and boogieing as of late. So, whether they found something with the new Ford engine parlayed with how they're setting up the car, yada yada. Maybe we'll see. This is going to be a big test this weekend. But at the end of the day, my money is on Mickey Mouse. Ryan?
Yeah, I ride with Chase Elliott here. I almost took that one for my pick earlier as well. So glad to see that you boys are on it as well. I actually just bet it while you were talking to, because I was like right on the edge earlier. So if we're all gonna ride, let's fucking ride or die together.
Let's do it.
So yeah,
let's do it.
Elliott minus 120 over Kez. That's a good one.
All right. So
welcome back.
You got me now.
Look at
so
you.
I think I'm good.
Working hard.
So interesting. So where was that found? Phil, where'd you get that at?
I got that on DraftKings.
DraftKings. Okay. So find that on DraftKings. What price?
I got it at minus 120. I don't know what it is at the moment.
Just took it on Caesars too, so it's on.
Okay,
it's
on
places, I think
they have it matched up a few different spots.
Okay.
Yeah,
pretty much what they do every week. Just copy and paste.
So we did that. Mark, what about you? What's the head-to-head you found?
Mine is that guy you asked me a question about earlier, Bubba Wallace versus Alex Bowman. And this is even money on Bet365. I took it last night. I'm not sure what it's at now. But the books have so kindly given us just an incredible gift on a mile and a half. Alex Bowman is just not him this year. And now he had the top 10 streak, fine. Most of the time, the speed that he has was not conducive of a top 10. Bubba Wallace, on the other hand, has had the speed, the average running position, and LD speed. He just hasn't had the finishes. So maybe the books are looking at the actual finishes. I know some people don't even look at finishes, Zach being one of them. Highline Betting doesn't even look at finishes. I do, obviously, and I also look at how you've ran, and I can overlook finishing position. So we at NLD, non-loop data, we're looking at 10 comp track races, both Coke 600s in the Gen 7, the last 2 Texas races, the last 2 Kansas races, the last 2 Vegas races, and a smidge of Nashville and Michigan. Don't ask me why. But this is by far the most data that we've seen in the Gen 7 car. And as we've seen this year, it's the same guys at the top of the board. We've heard Denny talk about it on his podcast. It's JGR, it's Hendrick, and as of late, we'll go ahead and throw RFK in there. Now, this matchup is clearly between 2 of those teams. Yes, I am going to throw 2311 into the JGR mix. There's just too much going on there. Toyota is such a small place. Denny Hamlin, JGR, 2311. I just group them into one. Okay. But there is no equivalent between the 23 team and the 48 team. In my opinion, the 23 team is much better than the redheaded stepchild of Hendrick Motorsports. So let's dive into the numbers. Basically, what I found is that Bubba is 5 to 7 spots better than Bowman in a few key stats. So average running position in the 10 comps, Bubba's 11th in the Cup Series, Bowman 17th. In LD speed, Bubba 8th, Bowman 15th. Driver rating, Bubba, this is surprising. Bubba was 5th, Bowman 14th. Now, if we look at the last 2 Coke 600, head-to-head, they've split 1-1. But Bubba has him beat in NLD speed and average running position in both of those races. So back in 22, Bubba wrecked, hit the DVP, and ultimately DNF'd. So if we look at the entirety of the 10 races, Bubba has beat him head-to-head 7-3. 7 times he's won. And if you throw out the DNFs, either one of them, both of them have DNF'd, Bubba is 4-0. So give me straight up Bubba Wallace. If he finishes the race, he's going to beat Bowman. And if my luck strikes again and he wrecks like he does what seems like half the time, 50% of the time, well, I'll take my chances. But even money, Bet365, Bubba's been the faster car on all the comps that I'm looking at. He's been the faster car at both Coke 600. 2311 has got a hell of a mile and a half program, as well as JGR, because that's where they get their shit from. So I'm on Bubba Wallace. He's going to be faster than Bowman. It's just a matter of, is he going to wreck? Is he going to screw it up? We'll see.
Now I'm glad that I asked you that Bubba Wallace question without knowing that you were going to talk about him. So maybe that makes a little bit more sense why you went that way. Ryan, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, just looking at how we have it ranked out, I mean, we're similar at Win the Race to the NLD guys where we have Bubba ahead of Bowman. The thing is, like, talking about the finishes, I agree. I try not to look at them, but then sometimes you have to. I think this is one of the cases where you have to. Like, Bubba just can't seem to ever finish a race, but that is kind of the reason why I like him in this one. Like, I don't think that can last forever. He's due to finish a race sometime here. Like, with how fast that car should be, a top 10 is incoming for Bubba sooner than later on a track like this. If it's going to happen anywhere, this, and he's been pretty good on short tracks recently too. But yeah, I like the speed way more. I'm not really feeling Bowman for a while now in this type of race. So yeah, give me Bubba. I'll agree.
Okay, you'll agree there. What about you, Phil?
I think I'm going to take the other side on this one. I'm more of like I don't know. I guess I'm leaning more into the Charlotte history. I think with Alex Bowman, I've said it a bunch of times on this show, on my show, on other people's shows. Like he sneaks up and surprises you. I'm not saying that he's going to go out and win this race, but looking at the past 6 races at Charlotte, he's got 5 top 20s. To me, that's important because this isn't Talladega or Daytona, but it's a battle of attrition. It's a war. These guys are, going after it forever. And to me, that 5 top 20 shows that he's able to, keep the car on track, finish the races. He's got 3 top 10s in that time span. And this season, I mean, you're mentioning speed, Mark, like the green flag speed, at least that metric has Bowman ranked 11th, Bubba's ranked 20th. Bowman's coming off of a 7th place finish at Kansas. So I hear what you're saying about Bubba. I would like to ride with you. He finished 4th in this race last year, if my numbers here are correct. But other than that 4th place finish, you're seeing a bunch of guys or a bunch of races that he just, couldn't get it to the end. And to me, that's what I think of when I think of Bubba Wallace. Long race, not mature enough. So last year, good. He showed some maturity, but I hate to do it, but I think I'm going to go on the other side and I would roll with Bowman on this one just for the, I don't know, history here at this track.
Yeah, I think that's I think you have to a degree. And I'm glad that don't feel bad about it. I think that's what makes this segment.
I like riding with the boys though.
Yeah, I know you like riding with the boys. That's
Come on,
good,
man.
You're one of the boys. You're the team player there. So Ryan, what about you? What's that head-to-head that you found on the board?
So we'll just kind of go along with everything, but just talking about the track history, like it is worth noting in the next gen era, the last 2 races at Charlotte have been pretty crazy. There's no practice and qualifying last year because of rain. There was a comp caution. There were double-digit cautions for accidents. In 22, Larson didn't even qualify. 17 drivers didn't finish the race. It was just a complete shit show. So we haven't really had a great sample size here in this car. So, you did mention like Bowman's finish at Kansas. I also like to look at Darlington, the last time we saw them in this package. They're running the same tire code on both tires that they ran at Darlington. And going back to that matchup, Bowman was, or Bubba was top 10 car, all day. So going back to that, so that kind of ties into this head-to-head that I like. And I like Ty Gibbs minus 120 over Ross Chastain. And it's just coincidence. We didn't talk before the show that Mark was talking about Ross Chastain and Trackhouse, or you guys were just talking about Suarez. Like I feel like when we first got this next gen car, like Mark alluded to it earlier, like they were maybe ahead of everybody, but then it seems like people have kind of caught up a little bit. Ty Gibbs is one too that's like we've seen the progression of his first, cup of coffee in the Cup Series. Didn't go that great as far as finishes. Then comes in this year, and he is like blazing fast in this intermediate package. The only drivers that have a better true performance rank average in this package than Gibbs for me is Larson and Hamlin. And if you throw in only the comps that are more similar to this track in this package, Reddick would be the only other one you'd throw ahead of him. So I have Gibbs, firmly inside the top 5 in this package. And then to go along with it too, like I know we didn't have practice and qualifying last year, but Trackhouse brought 2 very dumpy cars to this race. And you have a comp caution and you have double-digit cautions to make any adjustments, and they still could never get it right. So it just seems like there's something up here where they just couldn't get it figured out. And I like that because JGR always figures it out here. They brought a fast car last year. And what's funny about this matchup is Chastain and Suarez both sucked last year. They actually beat Gibbs, but Gibbs ran over 80% of his laps inside the top 15. He just had a shitty finish. I don't really see that happening this time. And JGR coming correct too. I think Kyle Busch had like top 6 finishes in 5 of his last 6 races here with JGR. So they do just come correct here. I expect him to be fast. He's been fast in this package all year. Hopefully he can just put a full race together. And he is pretty awesome here in the Xfinity Series historically as well. So yeah, give me Ty Gibbs over Ross Chastain.
Okay, so Ty Gibbs over Ross Chastain. What about you guys? Phil, I'll start with you.
I can ride with Ty Gibbs. I'm scared to go against Ty Gibbs this weekend. So for those numbers that you rolled out there for Ty, I'm into it. He qualifies very well too on the 1.5 miles this year. He's 3rd best qualifier from what I'm looking at here. So he's going to put himself in good position, early, and hopefully he can kind of stay out if it does get mucked up back there, like it has the last couple years. Then hopefully he stays out of it and stays clean for the end. The speed's there for Ty. I was kicking the tires on like a top 5 for him, but I'm happy to take a matchup against somebody like Chastain for everything he said. So I'll ride.
What about you, Mark? I'll let you close it here.
Yeah, I'm riding. I don't want anything to do with Trackhouse. I don't want anything to do with Ross Chastain, Daniel Suarez. I don't want nothing to do with them. Now, I'm on Ty Gibbs for the season. I'm against Ryan. I think Ty Gibbs will win a race. I don't think it's going to be this weekend. And Alfred's comment, I was going to refer to that. No, the answer is no. I don't fear that Ty Gibbs is too green for this type of race, but it does raise a little bit of concern. And his speed on comp tracks has been good. Like he's had top 10 cars just about every time, but it hasn't been really good. And when we've seen Ross Chastain really good, he's really good. He's a lot better than Ty Gibbs' best. So I'm going to ride with the boys. I'm taking Ty Gibbs. I think Ty Gibbs is going to win this head-to-head matchup. And once again, this is a fade Trackhouse. I want nothing to do with them. Now, I'm going to be sitting here looking like a dumbass if the 2023 1.5-mile Trackhouse program shows up this weekend. But like Ryan said, they had all that time to make their car better, and NLD speed was 21st for both of them, and I think average running position was barely inside the top 20. So, yeah, give me some Gibbs.
Yeah, it's interesting. It happens every year where we see a team kind of regress just a little bit. I'm surprised it's Trackhouse. It feels like that's been the case. Obviously, Suarez won at Atlanta, but you can kind of throw that out. It's a different type of track. But we just haven't seen Chastain other than Kansas when it became a night race where he really was starting to excel and kind of have a prominent role before he got shuffled out in that final stage. So that will conclude then the rider fade segment. Let's move into position props. We got another guest coming on here in not too long to talk a little Indy, but let's talk about position props here. I'm curious what you guys have to say. Mark, I'm going to throw it over to you first.
This is the bet. This is the bet. You got all these handicappers out there. This is the play of the year. This is the bet of the century. This is my play of the year. Whatever. Okay. Denny Hamlin, top 5 at even money. I think somebody slid in my mentions and said he's plus 115 somewhere. He's plus 105 on Hard Rock right now. I have him at even money, and I have him at plus 105. I took it last night. I took it this morning. I took it when I got off work. I have added and added and added and added and added on Denny Hamlin, top 5. And I'm not sure I need to explain my reasoning here, because if you've been watching the Cup Series, you know that Denny Hamlin has been the class of the field, and it's not close. He's the fastest car almost every week. Now, if you need a refresher, here goes. This is I have this in bold because I could really just stop here after this. Denny Hamlin has not had a speed ranking outside of the top 10 at a non-super speedway, period. He has not had an NLD speed ranking outside the top 10 this year at a non-super speedway. Every single, quote, driver's track that we've been to, Denny Hamlin has had an NLD speed inside the top 10, and it's been inside the top 5, 6 of 9 times. We've been to 9 non-drafting tracks, non-road courses. 6 of 9 inside the top 5. He's first in the power rankings, in Zach's power rankings. Looking at comp tracks here, first in average running position, first in average finish, first in driver rating. He's third in NLD speed. He's a class of the field. He's the fastest in the garage week in and week out. He's a veteran. He won this race 2 years ago. He loves, I think he's got something like 15 top 5s here at Charlotte over his career. That's including the fall A and the spring oval races. This guy is unbelievable. He's fast as shit this year. He's your 2024 champion. And last year, Phil, I think you gave it to us, Trucks, Charlotte spring winner, champion. Cup, Coke 600 winner, champion. Denny Hamlin, Coke 600 winner, champion. Lock it in. Denny Hamlin, top 5, even money, plus 115, plus 105, minus 110. I don't give a shit where you take it. Take Denny Hamlin to finish in the top 5 at even money. It's a no-brainer. Don't ask dumb questions and get on it before practice and qualifying. Also, are the books, the finishing props, the books are giving us gifts. Like the outright market's kind of garbage. There's like 10 guys that are less than 12 to 1. The finishing prop market, we got one guy that's minus money for a top 5, and that's Kyle Larson. And we don't even know if he's going to make green flag. It's unbelievable. And the books, they're just, another an extra 100 miles. Let me just juice up the odds. Fine. I'll take Denny Hamlin at a top 5. Give me a break. Now, the only thing you have to question here is what Ryan said earlier. Both of these races in the Gen 7 car have been complete shit shows. A little worrisome, but once again, it's just like every other week. You can't go in betting, basing your bets off of attrition, based off of bullshit, unless we're at Talladega, Atlanta, or Daytona. So we're at 1.5 miles. We're at a driver's track. Denny Hamlin will be the class of the field. Top 5, even money, sold.
Sold. All right. Well, I love that. I love the energy for that as well. I mean, good price there, getting that plus money. I mean, we see it with guys like MTJ, Byron, Hamlin. So
they're all
really
plus money. It's ridiculous.
Huh?
They're all plus money. It's ridiculous.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Throughout the course of each week, we see these guys, and it's like you got to snag them. You're saying about DH, snag them now. So I like that. You're all in on DH there. What about you, Ryan? What do you think? What do you got?
What's hard is, it's like what he said. I think the books are doing that just because it has been so volatile in this package. But if you look like long term, Denny has only top 5 here in like a third of his races, and he's raced over 30 times. So it's a tough one to get. But when you're looking at right now, it's him and Larson every week. I mean, they are the class of the field, and no one's really close to them. Like if Larson and Hamlin aren't, one of them is or battling each other for a win every single week in this package, at least, it's a shocker. So I don't know. Like you asked earlier, Phil, like what's the news headline going to read? And if you asked me, I had it loaded up ready. Like the Cup guys are going to be disappointed Kyle Larson made it to the race on time, because it's just like him and Denny are just crushing everyone. I'll take Denny's teammate. I already talked about him. Big shocker. Ty Gibbs, top 10. There's plus 100s floating around there, at least before I grilled hot dogs earlier. So hopefully it's still out there. But 365 had it even. Fanatics had it near even. But again, everything I said about Ty Gibbs earlier, top 10 true performance in every intermediate package race except for Kansas. Kansas, he had trouble too. That might be a little wonky score there by me. Try to weed that out. I had him 12th, probably a little better. Incredibly fast, most recently at Darlington. That's what I said. That's the most recent race in this package using the same exact tire codes, and he's a top 5 car all day long. He has the 6th best average finish in this intermediate package this year. And, like I said earlier about JGR bringing fast cars here, marks on Denny. I think JGR is going to be very strong this weekend, and my 2 favorites are Denny and Ty. So give me Ty, even money, top 10, or around even money, whatever you can find right now that's close to it. So probably bet it down to minus 120.
I just got this. I was just envisioning you're grilling some glizzies and Ty Gibbs pops in your head of, I got to just find out what his top 10 price is. I gotta hammer this even money play. So that's good. I'm glad it is that season, right, where we're doing all this grilling outside, which is great. So Phil, what about you? What'd you find for us?
Well, I like what these guys are putting out here. The sales pitch for Denny was fantastic. Mark. I could tell that you were ready for that one. And yeah, I mean, I Brian's touching on somebody else that I might talk about in a little bit, but for position props, I like, and I'm interested to hear the feedback here. I brought this up today when I was talking with Tino, who's in the chat. Shout out Tino. Kyle Busch, top 10. He's best number you can get him at is on Caesars. I believe it's like -105 or something. So he's like hovering around even. But he's shorter elsewhere. And he said in that scuffle, like, I'm running just as bad as you. And I think that he's just taking it out on himself like a little too much. Because if you're, so two things. One, let's talk about Charlotte. 6 races here at Charlotte. He's got 4 top 5s. He's the other guy. He and Chase, 4 top 5s. He's 5 top 10s at this racetrack in the last 6 races. That's more than anybody in NASCAR in that time frame. And, you know, the switch to RCR didn't impact that. He finished 6th last year in this race. But we have this like cloud over Kyle Busch. And what I was telling Tino earlier was like, you look at how he's been doing this year on the 3.5 miles, and it's not that bad. He had a bad finish early in Vegas, but then he's finished 9th at Texas, 8th at Kansas. His green flag speed is 10th compared to everyone. And in Kansas, he was 3rd in green flag speed. So this isn't like he's just running like Ty Dillon here, or excuse me, Austin Dillon. He's been solid. Now, I'm not asking him. That's the thing. You got to pick your, spots with Kyle. I'm not asking him to win the race, but I think a top 10 at a track that he's been consistent at in his career, did it again last year in the 8. I think that for -105, I'm interested in Kyle Busch at that number. And I think the fight aspect of it plays a factor here. Like it's the human element here. Like we had as a team, you're like, let's come together and let's like rally around this because, this guy thinks he can, sit by our truck and swing at us. Like we're not in the muck with him. We're not trying to race the 47 every week. Like let's get better. And so I think there's an element to that too. So let's go with the 8 car. I'm kind of shocked I'm saying it, but I was shocked that he jumped off the page to me. So top 10 for him.
So you like the 8 car, like you said. I mean, definitely was in the news, and we'll see what happened. I mean, to your point, Texas going to a backup, finishing top 10. So definitely interesting stuff there. Let's go to the outright market real quick, and just want to touch on this before we get to some other stuff. But Ryan, I'm going to let you kick it off. What'd you find for us in the outright market, if any?
That's great because I found nothing. I'm not taking any of these numbers. We'll make this one quick. I'm not interested at all in any of the numbers that are out there across 6 or 7 books. There's no point to me in taking any of these numbers right now. I don't know. Hopefully these guys got something better for you. I saw Caesars had Byron boosted to like 12 to start the week. I think that's now gone, but that was probably like the most tempting thing that was out there. Still didn't take it. But just not really interested. I think it's a good race to bet live, and if you're gonna bet live, I'd wait. Maybe take like one flyer earlier if someone's looking super fast. But like we've said a million times in this show, shit can go down. So I'd probably, I wouldn't take a low number. If you're taking a flyer early, you're taking something, at least 20 and above, and then just wait until you really have a good grasp of who the fastest cars are and do that. But yeah, I don't want to take any of the numbers where they're at right now.
Here's what I'm going to say about that. And if Mark and Phil have something regarding the outright market, I would love to hear it. But I want to commend you, Ryan, because you didn't force it. And it's another reason why I love this show and I love the guys that are on it is they don't force anything. So it's not like Ryan found something and then was forcing it down everybody's throat of like, hey, here's what I found, but you're not really bought in. So thank you, Ryan, for that honesty. Because Mark, you alluded to it earlier. In the outright market. Now, if we have something from either of you, great. And Phil, I'm going to kick it over to you. Did you find anything in the outright market? I know you've been on various shows. You might have been able to find an edge.
Yeah, we talked about it on a couple of the shows. I like Truex at the number. He was like 12 to 1. I think he's now 11 to 1, best number you can get him at. But when was the last time we saw Truex 11-1 on a mile and a half? Like, I don't know why he's so high. I've been avoiding taking Truex outrights because we're seeing him at like plus 650 to start the week, 7-1 to start the week, but 11-1 on a track that he's got some, obviously he's got some good history here. He snuck up the show years ago, won the race. I wasn't on it. It was the worst night ever. And this season, he's been good on a mile and a half, third in average finish. He's got a 7th place finish at Vegas, 4th at Kansas, green flag speed. He's right there with the big dogs, Larson and Hamlin. He's 3rd, right behind them. 2nd in green flag speed at Kansas. He's been very consistent. Probably had a couple wins like stolen from him this year. So this is, if we woke up Monday morning and the headline was Truex stinks up the show, I don't think any of us up here would be shocked by that. So at an 11-1 number, I'm going to throw a sprinkle, not a, maybe not a full unit, but I'm kind of using that to cover my manufacturer plays kind of deal. That's the way we broke it down. So yeah, I think Truex at that larger number than we're used to seeing is interesting.
What about you, Mark? Real quick, what do you got?
I was going to say Truex is the only outright we show value on. So that's the only one. It's funny that you picked that one. That's pretty cool.
I did place a bet, and not a big bet, but I placed a bet on Tyler Reddick at 8-1, and I wish I got 10-1. I know there was definitely an opening 10-1, but I'll be quick. He's 3rd in the power rankings of the last 10 comps. He's 5th in NLD speed. If you isolate the last 2 Charlotte races, he's numero uno. He's had the fastest NLD speed at the last 2 Charlotte races. 3rd in average running position, 2nd in average finish when you bring the 10 comps in. So I like what Ryan said about live betting. This is a great race to live bet. You're going to see a lot of long green flag runs, hopefully. And there's a lot of laps left. We're going to be able to figure out the guys that are going to be fast, and there's going to be a lot of time left. I can't imagine the books are going to be really short on guys early in the race. So I think live betting is going to be imperative. And let's hope that the international gods are in our favor this weekend.
I like it. So some good conversation there with that. But I want to jump into a little Indy talk, if you will. And I want to welcome on Tony Donohue. Tony, you can follow Tony on X at Tony D Indy. Tony, thanks for giving us a few minutes of your time. I know you're in Speedway right now, having a cold one. And how are things going on your end?
Hey, guys. Yeah, thanks for having me. We're ready to go. I think we've seen the most odds that we've ever seen for the Indianapolis 500 coming out this week. Most IndyCar races, you might get some top threes, you might get some matchups, maybe 3 or 4, but we're finally getting what I would call NASCAR type bets where you can bet top 10. We were able to bet the Grand Prix a few weeks ago live. So maybe the books are finally awakening to the IndyCar side of things.
So just kind of give a little overview, and if anybody has any comments or questions, now's the time to do it, because I think it's good to give it a little shine to Indy this week, especially with everything going on. Thank you for allowing us to let you borrow Kyle Larson, and while you keep him in good hands, I know you've been able to chat with him a little bit since you've been there. You're representing the open wheel side of things for Front Stretch, so thanks for all the content you're providing for us there and capturing. So for everybody that's like listening, tuning in, maybe hasn't had an opportunity to bet on the Indy 500 in any capacity, how should bettors be going about it this weekend? I typically go about it with like a speedway approach, a super speedway for NASCAR. But what, in your opinion, how should people go about betting it for the first time?
What's crazy, and I tell us to people every year, I always fade the pole sitter. It seems like it's so hard to win from pole position. Simon Pagenaud did it in 2019, but before that, you got to go back to 2008 with Scott Dixon. So I just tend to fade the pole sitter. And Scott McLaughlin, who hasn't finished higher than 21st at the Indianapolis 500, has one second-place finish on an oval. Easy for me to fade Scott. I like Scott a great deal. He's got the best pit stall at the end of pit road. But I turn first and foremost to his teammates. It's also very hard to go back-to-back. We haven't seen it since Elio Castroneves did it in 01, 02. We almost and should have saw Marcus Ericsson do it last year. So that leaves me to Will Power as my number one hit, my top dog. Will, I've been to every race except for one so far this year, and I've seen a resurgence out of Will Power. I see a guy that last year had a lot of off-the-track issues, family matters, and you look at a guy that's won Indianapolis 500 before, has a great pit stall. He's got the 6th pit stall. And I know people are probably thinking, well, what's so great about that? Well, the 6th and 7th pit stall in Indianapolis, you have an easy in or an easy out because of Gasoline Alley. And it seems like somebody inside of the top 5, Alex Palou last year, Scott Dixon 2 years ago, something goes wrong on the pit road. Whether you get mixed up in somebody else's junk, you have a pit road speeding penalty like Scott Dixon did. And I just think that those guys at Penske are going to be on it. My second gun in the bullet, so to speak, is Alexander Rossi. Rossi is a guy that, his 4th best Indy 500 is the one that he won in the field mileage, crossing the finish line at 178 miles an hour back in 2016. 2018, 2019, 2020, he had the best cars. Couldn't put it together. Rossi with Arrow McLaren, a team that he might be leaving at the end of the year. A team that hasn't won a race in over a year and a half. It just seems like this is the breakthrough weekend for Alexander Rossi and Arrow McLaren. He's been there for a year and now 4 races, only has 2 podiums. Pato O'Ward, who has a win this year but hasn't led a lap due to the fact that they took the win away at St. Pete from Joseph Newgarden and gave it to Pato O'Ward. He's going to be right there as well. Pato O'Ward last year going for 2nd with 8 laps to go, Rex. Again, he finished 2 years ago in 2nd to Marcus Ericsson, went for him the last lap, just didn't quite have it. My top 3 right now are Power, Alexander Rossi, and then Pato O'Ward. There's a few other bets that we could talk about that might have double-digit favorites as well, but right now those 3 are my top dogs.
Okay, so those being your top dogs, how about you got a sleeper that you want to throw our way, and any then last comments before we head out?
Yeah, I think I don't know if these 2 drivers are sleepers, but whenever we talk about Scott Dixon winning a race, it's because he started mid-pack. He did the fuel mileage exactly how you need to do it, and he ends up winning. So I think you can get a decent number on both Palou and Scott Dixon to win the Indianapolis 500 after a disappointing qualifying effort. Scott Dixon's 10-1 right now. Palou's 15-1. Ferrucci has came down from 32-1 to 18-1. This guy has never finished lower than what he started. He was 3rd last year. He's got top 10s in all 5 of his Indianapolis 500 starts. A top 10 bet certainly on Santino Ferrucci would be big. I'll give you one sleeper who is currently at 28-1. He had one of the best cars last year. He's the best starting Andretti car. Watch out for Kyle Kirkwood at 28-1. If he can dial his car in over the 6-7 pit stops as he did last year and be up towards the front with 10-15 laps to go, I think Kyle Kirkwood's a driver to watch. And even if he doesn't win, how exciting would it be for you if he's battling for the lead with 10 laps to go at 28-1 odds?
That is a good point. I like that a lot. So you'll be there all weekend covering everything and kind of handling things. What's it been like real quick with Larson? How's it been from your perspective?
I think Kyle Larson's the only driver that I've seen drive his golf cart down Main Street and Speedway to go to dinner. He actually sat next to me at dinner the other night. He's embraced it all. Look, there's a lot of things about Indy that are cool. One of the traditions is the fastest rookie gets honored at a luncheon on the Tuesday heading into the 500, and they bring a real life cow, and all the rookies milk the cow. So for the first time in his life, Kyle Larson milked a cow yesterday. He's been fast. He's embraced everything about the Speedway. I've known Kyle for probably 10, 12 years now, and I've asked him the same question twice. I asked him on test day, and I asked him yesterday, and it'll be on my podcast. I already put it on my Twitter at Tony D Indy. I said, what's came natural to you, and what's been a little bit more difficult to adjust to? And he talks about the speed and qualifying formats. So would love for you guys to check it out, but it's been big. It's been great. There's obviously going to be a contingency with possibility of rain on what's going to happen and when he needs to get to Charlotte. The rumor was Tony Kanaan would take over, who has retired but works for Arrow McLaren. That's not going to happen. It's going to be Nolan Siegel, the one driver who did not make the Indianapolis 500 this year. But having Larson here has been great. He ran Kokomo, the dirt track, on Monday night. Somebody at this luncheon yesterday asked me, what's the big deal about Kyle Larson? And I said, in 20 to 30 years from now, we're going to look back, and this dude is going to be along the lines of Tony Stewart, Mario Andretti, AJ Foyt. And to racing fans and to the five of us in this podcast, we already look at it that way. But to the average person who just knows the Andretti name for it being famous and knows who Tony Stewart is, we're going to look back in 20 years, and that's going to be Kyle Larson. And it's super cool that he's ran the Indy 500. I hope he does it again. He's embraced it all. He's talked to everybody. He's enjoyed every minute of it. And honestly, it's been a joy to have Kyle Larson here for the 500.
Well, I appreciate your time, Tony. And again, everybody go follow Tony at Tony D Indy on X, and make sure you follow along with everything him and the team are doing over there at Front Stretch. So, Tony, any last thoughts here before we let you go?
Place your bets on Christopher Bell Sunday night.
Whoa.
C. Bell. Okay. Boys, what do you think of that?
That was so quick. I mean, we haven't talked about him all night. Hello.
Yeah.
All right.
Christopher Bell, baby. You watch.
Wow.
Okay. So there you go. Little
Like
Bell
that.
action.
We talked
Well,
about
thanks,
a lot
Tony.
of JGR.
We appreciate it very much. Go enjoy a cold one. And thanks for joining us, listening, and looking forward to seeing what happens on Sunday. So, guys, make sure you connect with Tony, and he'll help you out with any of those bets going forward. So thanks again, Tony.
Yep, appreciate it. Send them my way, and we'll try to all make some money together this weekend.
I love it. Thanks, man. Awesome. So good stuff there from Tony. Really appreciate that. Phil, I'm going to start with you. Any final bets that you wanted to talk about? And then I'll let you kind of roll into how everybody can support you. So what do you got on the docket there? Anything that we didn't get to cover yet?
I'll just throw this out there. Value, you say best value, plus 500 for our haymaking, throwing little guy out of the 47 camp, Ricky Stenhosue Jr. Nothing is a lock. You would be doing this for some fun. I actually got this at 6-1 last night on DraftKings. It's now down to 5-1 for top 10. And Stenhouse in the last 6 Charlotte races has 2 top 5s, 4 top 10s, and then a 12th place finish to boot. So 5 top 15s, like just missed the top 10. He's actually 9th in NASCAR, or excuse me, 9.8 average finish in those 6 races is 3rd in NASCAR compared to everybody else. So for a 5-1, I saw Brian mention McDowell for a pretty hefty price. But I think Stenhouse's resume is pretty solid for a driver who's up at 5-1 right now for a top 10. So value. I was waiting for you to hit me with the value question because I never have an answer for the value. This I feel like is at least a solid answer.
Of all times to do that. So how can everybody support you real quick?
Yeah, you can give me a follow at Full Tank Phil, Instagram, Twitter, and Full Tank with Phil is the name of the podcast. We had the guys from Speedway Steve 2 on breaking down all 3 races. Like I said earlier, it was a lot of fun. Talked a lot about some of those drivers that Tony just mentioned, and then Monaco as well. So great stuff. And I was on with Tino earlier for his podcast for Front Stretch. So give that a look as well. And yeah, we found out we're birthday brothers. Sunday, greatest day in motorsports, also my birthday. So getting some magic here for the bets as well. So I hope everyone has a great Memorial Day, and let's win some money.
I hate to ask this, but I have to. You're going to turn how old?
37. I have to do the math.
Never mind. All right, that's good. That's probably a good thing because I knew it was like in that 30 range. So I was like, shit, I'm going to have to bet on McDowell or Gilliland in some capacity. You said 37, 36. Doesn't matter what it is. And there's no driver with those numbers. So
no driver. Okay. But the month of May is the 5 month. So, I'm
Phil, that was good. That was good. The month of May, tying it back to Larson. I like that. Mark, what about you? Any bets we haven't talked about on your side, and how can the people support you?
Of course. I mean, you guys are missing the easiest winner of all time this weekend. I mean, it'll be the greatest cashed sports bet of all time, and that would be the Larson parlay. I mean, come on. I mean, listen, you got plus 450, you got plus 750, you got plus 9. What? I mean, I don't know. Don't ask me why. Don't ask me why. This is like going back to my Matt DiBenedetto $100 every weekdays of just like donate. This is a donation. So burn the money on fire. If you don't come at me. Okay. I'll just burn a $100 bill in front of you. We're 43-1 Larson double parlay. I'm not missing out on it. That's it. I don't know. I don't have anything else to tell you. Rain, don't care. Hopefully they void my bet. Probably not. Probably just be sitting with my, in my hand. But Hard Rock's legal in Florida. They let me parlay it. I got to do the Larson double parlay. So that's about it. Land coin will be out. Probably not tonight. Probably tomorrow. Maybe I might be in the Bahamas. It might not get up before. I mean, it'll be up Friday. I don't know. It's going to be up. But we have some guests on. We're going to talk a little bit of F1. We're going to talk a little bit of Indy 5, and we're going to talk a little bit of Coke 600. So we're going to have a little fun. And at Skybox NASCAR on Twitter. I love you guys.
Ryan, what about yourself, man? Anything we haven't got to talk about yet, and how can everybody support you and everything you got going over at Win the Race?
You just go to wintherace.info. We got giveaways going down. We're doing 50% off your first month, the first week for the rest of the year. And then anyone who's monthly member gets entered to win a shirt or a hat. Anyone who's a yearly member gets, entered to win that, and giving away 5 of each. And then also this military appreciation hat, which I don't have next to me right now, but giving that away too for all the people in Discord are entered into that. Some fun stuff going on. A bet that we didn't talk about because we don't really talk a lot of trucks, but I do like Corey Heim top 3 plus 125. And then I like, you mentioned Sanchez earlier too. He's like near even money for a top 5. So Heim top 3, Sanchez top 5. I like those a lot.
Mm-hmm.
There's no one down too. I heard you mention that, Phil. There's like no one racing. It's just like the guys, just the dudes. So if it's just the dudes, that makes me like the Heim top 3 way more.
Big time.
Wow.
Yep.
I like that. Well, good stuff
number
there from you, Ryan. Giving us some truck stuff before we head out of here, and awesome stuff that you have going on, obviously with your Discord and everything that you have going on with your channel. And thanks again for giving away that service hat. That's really cool. And guys, remember why we are celebrating what we are this weekend with the Coke 600 and family and friends. So can't thank everybody enough for supporting the show here, the NASCAR Betting Preview Show. Every Wednesday, we do this 8 p.m. live, whether I'm outside because I'm locked out of my house or I'm inside. So whatever it was, thanks, guys, for tuning in. Follow me at @DerekYote_. And man, oh man, we have ourselves a great weekend of racing. And I'm looking forward to next week when we're able to talk a little bit of not the Milwaukee Mile, but Gateway. So looking forward to doing that. But have a great rest of your week, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. And we'll catch you next time on the NASCAR Betting Preview Show.